Okay, we are looking at 3D shapes. So we're going to have a section over surface area as well as volume, but to begin we just need to know about our 3D shapes. So the first thing we're going to do is classifying solids. So we can have polyhedron or a non-polyhedron. So a polyhedron is going to be a solid that is bounded by polygons. Which in the first part, that poly, so it's made up of polygons. So the only thing that we know, or the main thing that we know that is not a polygon, is a circle. So we know polygons are not circles. And we know that it is 3 plus sides. Okay, so first thing we have is a face of a polygon. It's going to be each polygon that makes up the polyhedron. So any one of these sides can be your face. I'm going to choose the top one for now just because it's the easiest. But it could be this top rectangle, it could be a side rectangle, it could be one of those back or forward of the trapezoids. But any of the polygons we see. So that is a face of a polygon. Okay, well, an edge of a polygon is a segment formed by the intersection of two faces. So it's where to meet. So where to meet are going to be on any edge. So any straight line that you see. So the outline of your 3D shape, that is your edge. And then lastly, we have our vertex of a polygon. It's a point where 3 or more edges meet. So we have any of our vertices, any of the corners of our shape. It's our vertices or vertex, if you're talking about one. Okay, that's our first one. All right, next page. So naming our polyhedrons. To name our polyhedrons, we are naming the prism or the pyramid by using its base. Okay, so bases, you either have 1 or 2 of them. So a prism is just your 2 bases with your connecting pieces, where a pyramid, you have 1 base and then it meets at a point. Ooh, if I spell meets right, okay, meets at a point. Okay, so looking at A, the only shape that there is 2 of is going to be our trapezoids. We have 2 trapezoids. Other than that, we have 4 rectangles. Okay, so we know we're going to be looking at that to name it. And it doesn't have a point, so we're going to have a trapezoidal, because that's our base. Trapezoidal. And then since there's no point, it's going to be a prism. Okay, and then is it a polyhedron? Well, all the sides are straight and they have 3 or more sides, so there's no circle. So we are able to say yes, that it is a polyhedron. Okay, so if we're to look at B, the base is this circle. So is a circle a polygon? Hopefully you say no. Okay, so since a circle is not a polygon, we're able to say no to the polyhedron, because base is a circle. Okay, and then the name of this 3D shape is a cone. Okay, next shape we have, looking at the base, what's on the bottom in this case. How many sides do we have? 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we should have a hexagonal, and then it meets at one point, so it's going to be a pyramid. Okay, is there a circle? Is there a curved line? No, everything is straight, no circle, so we're able to say yes to it being a polyhedron. Okay, next thing, going to the next page. We have our cross sections. It's going to be the intersection of a plane and a solid figure. A plane is from chapter 1. It is a 2D surface. So if you only have one plane, it is a 2D surface. So looking at this, example 1, it says determine the shape formed by the intersection of the plane and its solid. So our plane is this orange sheet of paper that is cutting this shape. It's cutting it horizontally, but it doesn't have to. Okay, looking at that, we are looking at the image it shows on the plane. We're not looking at, oh, we cut this pyramid into 2 different shapes. What are the shapes? We're only looking at the shape formed on the plane. So the shape formed on this plane is our, do we see it? Should be a triangle. So our answer is triangle. Shape form is triangle. All right, next one. We see our orange sheet is our plane. It is cutting our cylinder vertically. See, it doesn't have to cut it horizontally. It can cut it vertically. And it is creating a what? Let's outline it. What is it making? Ooh. Okay, these lines aren't working too well, but what shape do you see? Okay, you should see a rectangle. It's formed a rectangle. Okay, lastly, we have a cube, and it's being cut at a diagonal. So we see all the different ways we could cut our shapes. It could be horizontal, it could be vertically, or it could be diagonally. So looking at this, the shape it is creating is a what? Remember, it has to be 2D. So I have a big base, a small base, and 2 slanted sides. That is a what? Okay, you should say trapezoid. Oop. Not it erased on me. That was so rude. Okay. Okay, are we good on cross sections? It is a plane that is cutting our shape and creating a 2D shape on the plane. On that orange sheet, what shape does it create? Okay, next thing, it says sketching and describing solids of revolutions. Okay, a solid of revolution is a 3-dimensional figure created by rotating a 2D shape around its axis. So that's your 2-dimensional. If I spelled dimensional right. No, hopefully. Okay, and then we have our axis of revolution, which is a line at which the shape is rotated. So I'm going to draw my little axis of revolution. Okay, and then I'm going to draw my shape. So I'm going to draw a triangle on this axis. I could also draw a rectangle on this axis. Okay, and then we want to figure out what it creates. So I'm going to go out. I'm going to go to this GeoGebra. I'm going to link it in Schoology. Okay, do we see our axis of rotation? I don't think I can slide it or anything, but it's the height of this triangle, so that middle line that we're looking at. When I change this T1, it's going to rotate it around the axis. Do we see it rotating? Okay, when you rotate it around its axis, it is making a cone. Do we all see the cone? When you are rotating in one spot, you are turning in your 360 degrees. So you are turning in a circle motion. A circle is fully smooth, so you shouldn't have any ridges in your shape. So we're not saying like a triangular prism or anything. We are rotating smoothly around, so all of our edges have to be smooth. So we are left with a cone. Okay, now what if I'm looking at a rectangle? For my rectangle, when I slide it, I am making a what? You should be making a cone. We all see it? Spinning it around, smooth edges all the way is going to give you a cone. And then next we have our circle. Our circle, if we spin that around 360, it forms a sphere. I think this one looks pretty cool. Okay, and then back here. So we learned those. So we're just talking about the different things that form. So making my axis of revolution. That triangle on top forms a what? A triangle forms what? Okay, the triangle should form a cone. So I have my lines and then make my cone. Okay, I'll redraw that. Okay, and then for my rectangle, it forms a cylinder. So a cylinder is made up of your two circles. And it wants to form a rectangle for some reason. And then I can connect my sides. So here is my cylinder. Should share the same base as my cone. I know it's not perfect, but I'm hoping y'all can see the vision. It's rotating around, making that smooth edge all the way. Okay, this is where we're going to stop. And then when I see y'all next, we will do our 3D, we'll do our surface area of like prisms and then cylinders, and then we'll start talking about our pyramids and spheres.